Hello, welcome to the Scale Modelling Cafe. Welcome to a very exciting video. What have ICM got in store for us in 2025? The catalogue is out. They very cleverly put a teaser out to say the 2025 catalogue is coming out tomorrow with a picture of a Hampton on the front, and more of that later. What I'm going to do is just beneath the camera is I have a list, so I'll just run through in no particular order. Well, no, wrong. A sort of order. I'm going to leave my two most exciting ones, and they're the proper new tools, to the very end. We'll start off with 1/35th scale Sky Crane in the Firebomber version, the bright orange thing. I think a lot of people have been waiting for this. I have heard that the company that have the real things are very protective over their IP, and to get a license might be very expensive or very, very difficult. And it looks like if that is the case, then ICM have overcome that and are going to bring us the version. It's coming in two different boxings, with or without the big box underneath. I suspect most people would probably want to go for the one with the big box underneath. ResKit do a whole load of stuff for this, as well as many other people, and I think that is very, very welcome. Personally, it's just too big for me, especially out here. If I was going to do one, I would definitely have waited for this version. I know some people were hoping to see a 1/72nd scale Sky Crane in the catalogue for 2025. That has been mentioned, or at least mooted anyway. Not this year, so maybe next year. We shall see. And I think 72nd scale would be a really popular scale for that particular model. Okay, next up, looking down here, is a new version of the Bronco. It's the NOS, I think it's called, NOGS, which is a night attack version. And it's really cool because it's got this turret thing underneath. Clearly, again, not a new tool, but just updated tools. And whether that comes out in other scales or not, we shall see. If I'm perfectly honest, I'd never even heard of this one. The reason I mention it is the Bronco is very close to my heart, in that was the kind of start, if you like, of my book that came out some years ago, where I did it as a post-apocalyptic model. And I just really love the aeroplane. I think it's really cool. And one of these days, I'm going to do another one, and it will be post-apocalyptic, but not in 35th. Right, moving swiftly on to the B26. 5 new boxings of the B26. Now, I will freely admit, I know nothing really about the B26 other than the early versions, certainly the A, which is where it's got its moniker, I suppose. It became known as the Widowmaker. Very difficult to fly, lots of accidents, very innovative design, tricycle undercarriage, and all the aerodynamic refinements. But the wingspan was too small and the tail was too small, and they modified it and it became a great success. A lot of people were hoping for the early version, but I guess it's easier for ICM to bring out the other versions. So the one they've announced is the F and the G. The difference between those, I have absolutely no idea. If you want to find out, or if you don't know, get onto Wikipedia. I could have done my research, but that's not the scope of the video. The video is about my reaction to the actual kit. The other boxings they're doing a kind of airfield, what do they call it? A bomber group airfield version. And also, I'm just looking down here, Conquerors of the Sky, another boxing, just different decal options by the look of it. But they're also doing an RAF Mark III version, which is really cool. I don't know if that's an F or a G or the previous version or not, I don't know. With just new decals. Like I say, I don't know anything about the B26, but actually the RAF and the South African Air Force used it quite extensively in the Mediterranean, and I think that's a really, really cool option to have that. So there you go, new B26, 5 different boxings of that. So clearly that's proving to be very popular. Right, moving on to the Black Hawk then, which, as I'm filming this just after Christmas, came out just before Christmas in the kind of special ops version with the big probe. I think it looks really cool. I think what would be look even more cool is if maybe ResKit will do it if ICM is having the sort of winglets with the extra fuel tanks on. I think that makes it look a lot more kind of muscly and mean. The 3 new boxings of the Black Hawk coming out. There's just the general utility American version. Now, I worked with the Pedros when I was out in Afghan. So that looked really cool if you could have it with like the Red Cross on it. Doesn't look like that's in these particular versions, but the other version, or one of the other versions, is the Black Hawk Down version, which I'm sure is going to be very popular. And lastly, a Ukrainian version with the really cool blue and yellow kind of stripe marking down the side of it. And yeah, that looks really, really cool. No doubt, obviously, it's close to their heart as well. And by all accounts, so far, it's like a very nice kit. And no doubt ResKit are going to do a whole load of stuff for it. And obviously Edouard 2, maybe sort of Red Fox Studio, that sort of company, for the 3D printed decals instrument panel. So as we go forward, there's going to be more and more aftermarket coming out for that, for sure. But a really nice release, and I'm sure it's going to be really, really popular. Something that's been really lacking in the modelling world has been a 48 scale Black Hawk. And here we go. Looks like ICM are going to get a town on it, which is awesome. I quite fancy doing a Navy version, because the Desert Duck, as we used to call it, used to come up from Bahrain when we were in the northern Arabian Gulf and do resupply missions and things. We were one of the few decks that it could land on, because it wasn't a Seahawk where the tail wheel is effectively just forward of the transportation joint at the end of the fuselage. This was an actual Black Hawk with the tail wheel right down the back, and the Type 23 has got a very large flight deck. Right, war stories aside, next one moving on is the Daier 217. 2 new versions, K1 and M1. The ones with the really funny kind of bulbous nose. Different engines on it between the 2 variants. One of them's got the BMWs on it, the 801s, and the other one, I don't know, actually. But it's an inline version anyway. Really funky looking aeroplane. You know, the Germans tended to all want to hold hands together up there at the front, and big sort of greenhouse blob on the front. And this one sort of really exemplifies that. I think it's funky looking though. I do like a stepped nose. I don't know why that's the international symbol for stepped nose, by the way. And yeah, really cool looking aeroplane. Nice model. The previous one, the previous boxings of that, and in 48 scale, quite a nice size, I think. So yeah, that's very welcome. Right, so really they are the updated molds. Most of those we didn't know were coming out. Could have, obviously we guessed that the Sky Crane, they were always going to do other variants of the Black Hawk, for example. I don't think anyone saw the new Daiers coming out. And again, I think it's fairly obvious that the B26 was going to be covered. The 2 new tools have been previously announced, so we knew they were coming, but it's really nice to actually see them in the catalogue for 2025, because it means they're definitely coming. The first one I'm going to talk about is the HS129. They're doing the B1 and the B2 versions. Again, I'd imagine it's very minor differences between the two. The actual differences, I've absolutely no idea. Might just be the markings, really. We shall see. I have built the old Hasegawa version. That's a really nice kit. Therefore, ICM, even though that's an old kit and this is going to be a brand new one, and no doubt it's going to be lovely, but you know, to beat the Hasegawa kit, they're going to really have to go some. It'll be interesting to see how they approach it. Are they going to have some open panels? Is it all going to be all buttoned up though? We shall see. cockpit detail. It's a very small cockpit, so small in fact the gun sight was external in front of the windscreen, which is a bit bizarre. And I've no doubt that the cockpit will be more detailed than the Hasegawa version. Whether it will have rivets or not, I don't know. I suspect not. ICM don't tend to do rivets. You know, this discussion gets had often. People are in normally two camps, a bit like Marmite. People like me who love rivets, and I will always add rivets pretty much. People who can't stand them say it's not realistic, but my own personal view is that modelling is, you're there to try and make this tiny thing fool the eye into, the brain think it's full size, and I just think without rivets they look bland. People say, if this is obviously 48th kit, well, if you stood 48 feet away, as opposed to 1 foot away on the model, it should look the same, and you're never going to see rivets from 48 feet away. But we don't always look at models exactly 12 inches away. We get right in, don't we? Especially on a table at a show, or even if it's your model in the cabinet. Over Christmas, I was getting models out of my cabinet and having a good old close look. And therefore, I think rabbits. I don't know why I said rabbits. Rivets are appropriate, in my view. It's my own personal view. Therefore, if I'm going to get this kit and it doesn't come with rivets, I will do a full rivet job on it. That's just me. I suspect most people won't. But I think it's really welcome. I think it's a great subject. Be brilliant if they could scale it down into 72nd scale. Or maybe that's one for clear prop armour. A company like that. Maybe. We shall see. But, really welcome. Luftwaffe always sells. And really good different schemes for this one. You've got your standard 70-71. You've got your winter whitewash on the Eastern Front. You've got the North African ones, which I think are really cool. Ones with squiggle patterns. Some of the winter patterns were, not just a winter whitewash, but some real cool patterns going on there. And a massive different style of markings and boxing. So I imagine there'll be more boxings of this coming along, definitely. Was it operated by any foreign air forces? Hungary, Romania, maybe, I don't know. Again, I'd have to do my research. But lots of potential for that one as well. Right, I'm saving the best till last, and that is the 48 scale Hampton. Now, we knew this was coming. ICM had said that they were going to do it. That came, someone threw that in one of the interviews one of the ladies was doing. Someone threw out, how about Hampton and 48th, and she took that back, and they discussed it as a company, and they've agreed to do it, and I'm so glad they have. A 148 scale Hampton will be brilliant, and I'm so glad that ICM are doing it. It's right up their Strasser. They love their twin-engined aeroplanes, and I think it's amazingly exciting. It leaves the 72nd scale for Airfix to do, and I really hope they're going to do that in 72nd scale at some point. Their announcement's going to be coming in a couple of weeks. Can't wait for that. So it leaves the door open for Airfix to do their 72nd one. Even if Trumpeter or Hobby Boss do it, they didn't have a particularly great reputation with British subjects, and as evidenced by the test shots of the Battle and the Barracuda, completely screwed up the canopies on those. So if they, it's never stopped them. They might have it in the pipeline, but even if they do one, I'm sure it will sell well in China, but it ain't going to sell well in Europe and maybe America, because ICM are going to knock it out the park. I know they are. Really exciting. Again, two different versions, the B1 and the TB1. That's the torpedo bomber. The in Scale Aircraft Modelling, Paul Lucas is his articles in the about colour schemes. They've just been running some over the last few months, some really good articles about the Hampton. The last one in the current issue, the December issue, is all about the torpedo ones. So some really cool different colour schemes. In fact, the box art shows it in the temperate sea scheme. Slate grey, extra dark sea grey, black underneath, night. They were exported. The Soviets used them in the torpedo. I think Finland as well used them. So there's the export options as well. But it's just such a funky aeroplane. I've got a 1/48 scale Wellington sat on top of my display cabinets. This is going to sit beautifully next to that. I'm going to be doing a review of 2024 and I look forward into 2025, what's coming. If this comes out in 2025, it's in the catalogue too. If it comes out in 2025, it's definitely on the list. I'm definitely going to build that next year. Really excited by it. I'll do a wartime one. I tend to do my twin engine aeroplanes with one of the engines shot up and a feather prop and some oil leaks and stuff. And this will be exactly the same. I'm definitely going to do that. And yeah, just brilliant. Can't wait for this one. And if there's anything on the bench at the time, and as soon as it gets here out in Saudi, that's it. Bench cleared. Crack on with that. It's going to be brilliant. Right, there we are. I finished on a real high. Really exciting. And I hope you're excited as well. Some really great stuff coming out of all the Ukrainian manufacturers. ICM, knocking it out the park as well. And really exciting times. Really excited to see what the other Ukrainian manufacturers are coming out with. It's a real kind of hotbed centre of modelling kit manufacturing under the most horrendous conditions. So all power to them. Slava Ukraine, and well done ICM. And looking forward to seeing a couple of their kits on the bench next year. Right, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.